right, good morning. Welcome in Baseball and Coffee. It is Friday, October 17th. We are on both channels, Adam Ottavino Zero as well as at MLB. Simulcasting this morning as we recap a little bit of the two games yesterday. Get ready for the two games tonight. We got a series in the American League, folks. 2-2. That's a good place to be. When you're a baseball fan, that means we're going to have a very exciting Game 5, and we're going to go back to Toronto no matter what. So that should be very, very fun. And we're going to take some early stuff in the chat, see what we want to even look at from yesterday before we get ready for today. Being that I did a little bit of, got my coffee, got my cat, all set to hear the tale of Darth Scherzer the Wise. A great comment by my buddy here. So yeah, so I'll get in the chat. I'll see what you guys want to take a peek at before we get ready for the next game, since we already watched quite a bit of these games last night on Baseball After Dark. So how can we start here? Can you touch on the Mariners' decision to pitch to Springer in the fourth with Spire on the mound and Lucas on deck, and then with a runner on third and Vlad up pitching to him? So Mariners pitching to Springer in the fourth inning. Okay, let me hunt around here a little bit. So Seattle and Toronto is this game. All right, fourth inning. Mariners on the mound. So Spire, and then we got Springer. So here's how the fourth inning goes. Kiner Falefa with this bloop single. Now Spire had already been in the game. There was an early hook-ish on Castillo. He was in a little bit of trouble. They decided to go for the matchup. Sorta didn't work out, but Spire struck out two guys to end the third, kept it 3-1. So bloop hit here, IKF. Sack bunt, which I loved in the moment. He did hit a home run his previous at-bat, but I thought it was great. Just to try to continue to tack on runs. Every extra run when you're already ahead just digs the hole a little deeper for the opponent emotionally, I would say. All right, so now you got man on first, Springer coming up, Lucas on deck. So it's funny because, yeah, this is probably not the best matchup in the world. Spire versus Springer, man in scoring position. I think Schneider a little bit is daring Dan Wilson to walk him here and put on another base runner. That's been something that's been going on both sides. Both teams have gotten a little crazy in the first few games, chasing it with big intentional walks, trying to hold innings down at zeros. So I think the thought process is here is, you know, one run we can handle. We can't handle another big inning. We're going to have to get 2 outs here anyway, whether it is, you know, between Lucas. But then, you know, you do look at it like this. If he walks Springer, he can go left on left with Lucas, and then if he's going to go brash anyway for Vlad, which he ends up doing, I can see the argument here a little bit of why pitch to Springer here? Why not set up this matchup with first and second rather than just already a run in? Let's see how this at-bat played out.
We were talking to John Schneider about that, about him bouncing 6.
Yeah, you're right. Spire also with a lot of pitches thrown. Honestly, I was pretty shocked to see Spire even start this inning, to be totally honest with you. I know you're searching for outs, but typically, so that was his last batter. But typically when you come into a game in a big spot, like he does in the third inning, Gabe Spire, he comes in a huge spot here, obviously. Bases loaded, 1 out in a 1-run game. He expended a lot of energy to get through this inning. It's an 8-pitch walk, followed by a 5-pitch strikeout. He's up at 96.6 here, really letting it rip, giving it everything he's got. And then another strikeout of Barger. In a way, I kind of feel like you're spent. You've used up your emotional energy for this game. I know that you're trying to get more innings out of your best pitchers. and maybe he qualifies on that list right now. But if you look at the way this inning was set up, righty, lefty, righty, lefty, righty with the top of the order coming up, if you were already ready to fire this guy, Matt Brash, into the game, you probably should have fired him to start off the 4th inning. That's the reality. If you were going to chase it hard anyway, it's a little too late by the time you bring Matt Brash in this game. Now, there's already a run in. So I think I would have fired him right in there at that point if you were desperate enough. Or you go with a different righty matchup there, because at least the lineup there started righty, lefty, righty there in the 3rd. And at the way that Spire worked hard to get through the 3rd, I kind of agree with the chat here a little bit. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, personally. All right, what else we got here? I wonder what's been going on with Wu. He's been up in the pen a couple of times now. So the way he managed this game, though, I mean, he even used Bizzardo in this game. He's pretty much setting himself up to try to get through this entire game with 3 pitchers. Probably Wu, Munoz, and Miller. Those 3 are probably going to be the ones. And this is the famous moment last night. This is the famous moment last night that everybody, has been reacting to. Mad Max living up to his billing. Let's go.
Scherzer 1 out away from qualifying for his first win in the postseason.
Do you think that, I mean, Schneider obviously knew what was going to happen when he went out there. So I'm wondering if this was just a fully intentional moment just to try to fire the old boy up here a little bit. But this is what Max brings. We talked about it a little bit yesterday on Baseball and Coffee in the morning. What would Max bring to the table? 22 days rest. Well, one thing he's going to bring to the table is this type of stuff. Competitiveness. He wants the ball. He's been there before. He just moved into the top 5 all-time in postseason strikeouts. So, I mean, that, and he's going to figure it out along the way. Curveball became a part of the plan last night. So, I don't know. Just a fascinating game last night for sure. Schneider said he was waiting to do that all year. I mean, it is kind of great. You play with Max, you want to feel it. You want to feel it a little bit. You want to know what it's all about, the fire and the fire and all that. Would it make sense to look over who the Mariners have burned in the bullpen? Yes. So 100%, we're gonna get into that. Looks like there's a lot more intrigue, and rightfully so, in this series now that it's 2-2. Dodgers kind of are leaving the Brewers in the dust a little bit here. The Brewers can't score runs against the Dodgers. They have 2 hits, 3 hits, and 4 hits, I believe, in their 3 games. And now they get Ohtani tonight, so that's not going to be very good. So, all right. 2 things I want to do really quick. I'm going to leave this question just for my brain for a second. But I want to go take a quick look at Max's breakdown, because a couple things happened here last night that were just impressive, and we didn't know how it was going to turn out. He's 41 years old. He's been kind of horseshit the last month of the season. He would tell you that. Gets the opportunity in a huge game against a team that's been swinging it pretty well, particularly early in the game. How would the matchup go? So he ends up going 45 fastballs, 52% fastball, so keeps him honest just enough with the heat, which also helped because he averaged 94.2 with his fastball last night and got up to 96.5, which is his fastest pitch of his season. So the rest did him well. The rest did the old body well. Had a good fastball last night, needed it considering he had to use it this much. And then other than that, he just kind of read the game. 16 sliders, 15 changeups, 10 curveballs, which proved to be huge in this game. Not a typical finishing pitch for Max with 2 strikes versus righties, but he did it last night. He ends up going 10 swings on curveballs versus Max last night, 6 whiffs. So 60% whiff on curveball, pulled it out at a big moment. The changeup ended up being more of a contact pitch, got a huge double play to minimize damage in the first. And yeah, the fastball velocity was there. Obviously, the fire was there. So Max was fascinating to watch, and that was really big. If we look at the bullpens here, before I go look at the notes, and we see the official tallies and kind of what the narratives are heading into Game 5 here. So they use Spire for 32 pitches, Brash for 10, but 2 ups. He's probably fine. He also never throws fastballs anymore. Did Matt Brash throw anything but a slider yesterday again? I don't think so. Okay, 2 fastballs, 2 sinkers, 8 sliders, 2 sinkers. So, I don't know. But Vargas ended up throwing 14 pitches, and then Bizardo ends up throwing 19. I don't love the fact that they chased it this hard with Bizardo. They're going to need him probably, potentially, in this next game tonight. He's been a warrior. His velocity was still good yesterday, so we'll see. But they're going to have Munoz. They're going to have some Brash. They're going to have Wu, which is in a similar situation as Scherzer. We don't know what we're going to get out of Wu tomorrow, potentially tonight. I don't know if Spire's on a limited basis. Not that you want to throw him back out there anyway, probably. So I don't know. The pitching has completely flipped around, and that's what offenses do. Great offense can do in a postseason. And pitching wins, but breaking pitching wins as well offensively. So yeah, I really think there's a lot to see here. There's a lot to see here, and this is a good. This is a good point too about how Vladdy stepping up has really made a big difference. I was talking about offenses breaking good pitching. Castillo and George Kirby are good pitchers. The past 2 nights, Blue Jays offense just been better. They've been more prepared for those guys. They've broken them in the 3rd inning each time. Taking away some of their strengths. And Vlad's been right in the middle of it. He stepped up in both games. He has a 4-hit game, almost hits for the cycle in Game 3. Here in Game 4, 2 for 5 with a homer. So, yeah, Vlad's been right in the middle of it. The Blue Jay offense has been really good. I also want to give a special shout out to the bottom of the order who's really sparked this club a lot. IKF, 2 for 3 last night in the 8-hole, including leading off both of those innings, the 3rd and the 4th, which were big. Jimenez, 2 for 3 with a homer and a sac bunt, so very productive. Plus, he's playing his usual defense. And then that flips it around for the guys like Springer, Lucas, and Guerrero, and Kirk, and Varsho. So if you can get those guys on, and Vlad's getting to hit with guys on base, that makes the equation a lot tougher for the Mariners guys. What else we got here in the chat? On the Blue Jays broadcast last night in the 1st inning, Buck Martinez mentioned that he thinks Vladdy saw Max was tipping his pitches in the 1st with his pitch grip. Did you see that as well? I didn't get a good look at this. I was loosely following the game until I came on Baseball After Dark last night. So that's pretty interesting. It's pretty interesting. That's good teammate stuff if you have some information about tipping. Because wasn't Max running into a little bit of tipping versus the Yankees towards the end of the season? So that makes sense. I also, by the way, I have to say, very lucky and what a treat for Blue Jay fans that in Canada you still get to keep your own broadcasters. You get Dan and Buck. I mean, are you kidding me? Everybody else has to switch over in the U.S. You got to switch over to the national broadcasters and then get pissed when they don't know your team as well as your local guys. So totally interesting, but phenomenal for the Blue Jays. They get to really experience this on a different level, I feel like, because of that. That's something maybe MLB's broadcast partners should maybe learn from. The engagement when a fan base is connected with their play-by-play people, I think, is actually really, really important. And it's building to such a crescendo at the end of the season, and then it's just gone. I often think imagine if Met fans could be with Gary, Keith, and Ron through a playoff run. I mean, I think that would be special. Anyway. They also apparently have better crowd noise on the Canadian broadcast, which is great. So that's very lucky for Blue Jay fans. I'm very jealous of that. I think for U.S. fans, I think that's it's just an interesting thing that I didn't realize was happening, but it makes sense. And I do agree with this as well. Why not just hire each broadcast booth and then just run 2 streams off of it. I don't know. Why can't you do that? I guess you're spending more money on the talent, but you're bringing in more money theoretically. I don't know. There's a lot of course, it's all money things. This is what typically happens with the Mets. They have to listen to Howie on the radio. So you end up, Yankees would do this too. They would switch over to John and Susan. I guess now it's Dave Sims, but they would switch over to the radio, listen to that while watching the game with it on mute for the most part. All right, so that was a good little moment. There was a question here. Can you talk about what a pitcher is thinking when guys keep fouling off pitches? This is a little bit misunderstood, I think, by sabermetricians who are, super efficiently judging you on your chase rate as a hitter. So a lot of guys, I talked about this a lot with Iglesias last year. It's like some guys are really good at spoiling pitches off the plate and fouling them off and making the pitcher throw more and more and more pitches. And it's been always commonly understood that this is frustrating for a pitcher, which it is. I will say, sometimes you're like, just freaking get out already. I'm tired of this. Like, I'm running out of ideas. You're seeing a lot more of my pitches, and eventually I probably am going to make a mistake. You're proving to me that I can't get anything by you. So a lot of times this strategy does work, but it will look bad for the hitter. So a lot of hitters, it's not really part of the game anymore. You see Josh Naylor doing it a little bit now in the playoffs. Occasionally you see it in a playoff situation. A guy just says, screw it. I'm going to slap everything foul until I get a pitch to hit, and I'm going to see 10, 11 pitches in this at-bat. But that stuff works. Pitchers hate that stuff. No question about it. Not that it's easy to do either. I'm not saying it's an easy skill set, but as a pitcher, it's frustrating. You're getting worn down. Typically, in a situation where they keep fouling you off, you're going for a swing and miss. You're going for a kill, and they just keep, avoiding it. And so it's frustrating. Those pitches, you're expending a lot of effort to make. So, anyway. Have I ever thrown an ephus pitch to throw a batter off guard? No. We used to do a thing in the Cardinals system where they would teach us this move called a free changeup. So it was like if you threw a bunch of fastballs and you felt like the guy was kind of on time with you, but you still wanted to throw a fastball for some reason. I don't know why you would, but you would basically call time, ask for a new ball, and when you would throw the ball to the catcher, you would lob it and make sure the hitter was watching how slow this ball came in. And this is called a free changeup. So you would lob it to the catcher and hope that lob, that fake throw that's not even a competitive throw, would somehow slow down the hitter's timing. So then when you got back on the mound with the new ball and you threw the fastball, that would work. That was called a free changeup. I don't know if that works or not, but we were taught to do that a little bit. How funny is that? It's not an ephus pitch, but pretty funny. Okay, Vladdy. Let's watch Vladdy's at-bats from yesterday. This is something fun to do. Yeah. All right, here we go. Let's just watch Vlad hit. He got 5 at-bats. We've been tracking him for a while. I have a whole video of every single at-bat in the DS where he terrorized the Yankees. So he had another good game yesterday. The previous game was a 4-hit game. Let's see how they try to attack him. Let's watch his offensive approach, and let's be impressed by one of the best hitters in the game. All right, first at-bat, Castillo. Sinker, four-seam middle. So that's just a full take, 2 outs, nobody on. He's saying, you know what, this is my one opportunity to throw just the juiciest pitch ever. If he swings, so be it. Fastball right down the middle. Then he's going to go to the sinker. This is what Kirby tried to do too early in the game. Versus Vlad was sinkers in was the plan. Sinker down at the bottom. So 2 takes. Tells me Vlad's looking for something else or something more elevated or out over. Good catch by Raleigh on this one. And then he does end up breaking his bat on a very well-placed sinker here with great arm side movement. And Crawford ends up making a sick play with the bounce throw. Thing about this pitch, and this is such a good pitch, but it's such a fine line between this ball getting in on his hands, which it does here. Like you can see where the ball hits on the bat. It's right here, and he would love for it to be a little bit more over here on the barrel. But it's a fine line, timing-wise. That's like 1 or 2 mile an hour, timing-wise. So, like, you're still playing with fire here. If you miss a little bit over the plate, or he anticipates a slight bit better, this ball's laced in the gap at like 115. So, even though this is a really good pitch, we give credit to Castillo. Vlad with a nice swing here. Still swings it very, very aggressively despite being down 0-2. And he ends up being out there, and now here's the second at bat. Now he's going to anticipate that sinker. So this time they do miss over the middle. That's exactly what I was talking about. They try to go back to the same pitch. They say, okay, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. We're going to go sinker back in here. But instead, because you can see where Cal's set up, he's on the inside corner. But instead, he throws the thing right down the dang middle. And Vlad is anticipating sinker this time. He's not going to get beat a second time. Laces it up the middle. So you have to be really good with your location on top of having a good pitch plan. All right, Brash. This is probably going to be all sliders. Oh, no. They're going to start him with the sinker back door. Takes it off the plate away. It looks like he was taking all the way there. Now, if you're facing Brash and you're a righty, you should probably sit on slider. That's what he throws overwhelmingly, the overwhelming majority of the time. So if you're him, if you're Vladdy in this at-bat, and you're sitting on a slider, you need the ball to start somewhere in here for it to break over the plate. Anything that starts, let's just say like from this part of the zone over, you're probably going to take it. So if he throws you a sinker away, you're probably going to have to take it for a strike. That would be my guess. Yep, easy take there. That leads to the wild pitch and the run. Another slider on 2-0. Yeah, see, he didn't stay disciplined there. This ball doesn't start near enough inside. If Matt Brash throws you a slider and it already starts on the plate, you got no shot of hitting it. No shot. So now he's got to push him a little further in. I'm surprised Brash didn't stay with the slider here. He almost walked into a homer right here. Vlad's a hair late on this. Just a hair as they try to go backdoor fastball. Good swing, though. Just misses it. And, I think he makes a similar swing, actually, but a slightly better one for the home run coming up here versus Bizzardo. Let's watch that. Again, a lot of sinkers and sliders. That's the plan right on right. That's what they wanted to do. That's the type of guys they wanted to have face Vlad. That's the type of pitcher I was. I get it. But he's faced a ton of these guys now. Sinker pulled away ball. Another sinker. They try to go in here. They miss. So this is a miss. Even though this is a strike, look at the location. They want to jam him. They're anticipating a swing. Bizzardo ends up doing the accidental backdoor fastball. So both pitches have been away. One pitch was down here. This pitch is right here. So Vladdy's got to be looking out over. Remember, he just had that swing where he just missed it trying to go oppo. And then this one, I don't believe he just misses it. No, this one he stays on beautifully. Smacks it. See you later. 103.5 at 27. So this is just a classic case of the pitcher didn't really locate well. Vladdy hit the ball where it's pitched. As you can see here, they're trying to get in on his hands again. This is the game plan. But again, you got to be able to execute the game plan. Just because it's a sound game plan doesn't mean it's going to work every time. If you pull the ball out here, which is where his energy is focused on, he's going to clip you. Also, 3 fastballs in a row, so the timing's not an issue. So for me, I understand the matchup situation, but I'm questioning a little bit of the pitch selection at times. And, definitely some of the execution here wasn't tip-top, which it has to be if you're facing Vlad. And yes, I do agree, watching these games, Bizzardo has had a ton of these misses to the pull to the glove side, and a lot of them have worked because it's such a nasty pitch. But, he's starting to get overexposed, and Vlad's not the type of pitcher, not the type of batter that you can make those mistakes too regularly. All right, third at bat, it's a first pitch. They go sinker in again, huh? And he almost clips him again. Another slight miss. Man, and this ball had some funky upshoot with Hancock's arm action. So he just slices under it. But headed into Game 5, if they're going to continue to do these right-on-right matchups where all they're doing is going sinker-slider, they better execute because Vladdy's onto that. He saw 5 at-bats tonight like that. Kirby from the other night was very similar. So this is becoming like a repeat repeat, style over and over and over again. So actually, if I'm the Mariners, I consider throwing him off this style a little bit, maybe going with just something different. I don't know what that would be, but this is where Brian Wu would come in hand for sure. Just give him a little four-seam love. Sinker in, four-seam love. A guy who can actually command it all. All right, what else we got? Yeah, we talked about this earlier, Legacy 59. Looking at it now, I don't understand why Spire even pitched that inning, to tell you the truth. Right, left, right, with the top of the order looming after he had already used a lot of energy to get out of the third. Now that they do have him in there, they all of a sudden decide not to chase it in that moment and pitch to Springer, which if you had Brash ready anyway, maybe that was the moment to fire him for Springer. So I'm a little confused by it myself. Do you think the Blue Jays or Mariners have a better shot against the Dodgers? I'd say about equal. Mariners, in theory, have some of the better starting pitchers, but both teams have good starting pitchers. I like the dynamic of the Blue Jays guys with the splitters to some of these Dodger hitters. Muncy, Ohtani, even Freddie to some extent. So I don't know. It should be a great World Series. I'm assuming the Dodgers are making it at this point, but we'll see. I still think the Dodgers are a juggernaut. The biggest problem with them right now is, you're going to get 100th percentile version Blake Snell and then 100th percentile version Yoshinobu Yamamoto. Probably you're going to have to beat those guys 2 or 3 times in the series. So that's going to be tough. The Brewers have not been able to get that job done. This was the box score from yesterday's Dodger-Brewers game. Like I mentioned, 4 hits, 2 for Durbin, 1 for Bowers, 1 for Yelich, which was an infield hit. He looks lost at the plate, struck out the other 3 times he's been up. Chorio's had the best swings. He had 3 hard hit balls yesterday. That's not really doing much because they're not getting any batted ball luck. They had to contend with the shadows. I wonder if that's the case again today with the game times, probably. So let's just go ahead and get into the notes as we'll start to get ready for the 2 big games tonight. It is a 3-0 series lead for the Dodgers. It is a 2-2 series in the ALCS, which is shaping up to be a tremendous series. Road team has won all 4 games, so that's great. Big shout out to my research guys, Nate Purrington, Mark Adelberg, and everybody over at the network for doing this. This is really cool. Looking forward, we are exactly 1 week away from Game 1 of the World Series. If we squint in the distance, we are 5 months away from the WBC Championship game, which will be in Miami. I was a part of that last time, did not pitch, but I was there cheering it on. Very, very cool. Yes, we watched Max Yelich-Schneid's earlier. That was amazing. There's there's some crazy stuff going on right now, and it's fantastic. It's fantastic. On this day 20 years ago, Pujols hit that home run off Brad Lidge, off the train tracks. Probably the most you could hear a pin drop in the stadium moments that's ever happened, at least in my lifetime watching baseball. So that was fun. Also, on this day in 2004, Kevin Millar got the walk. Dave Roberts stole the base. And we don't really need to talk about that. This was still painful for me as I was a Yankee fan at the time living in Boston. But Red Sox came back from the 3-0 hole. That is what the Brewers are up against. Don't see as much optimism this time around, but you do never know because it is baseball. But I feel like now that they've already shot the Mizorowski bullet, Peralta bullet, they've seen all their best relievers a lot. Uribe, McGill, Koenig, Ashby, etc. I feel like the Dodgers have kind of seized this series in a way that might not be comebackable. And yes, that and the Bonds home run against the Angels off of Troy Percival, which was smushed. That was probably the 2002 World Series. I would believe. Blue Jay Love from Canada on the chat. Alrighty. Excluding 2020, there have been 40 previous occasions in postseason history in which a team seized a 3-0 series lead in a best of 7. 31 ended in sweeps, so the majority just are over. Teams don't really come back from this. Obviously, we know the one Comeback was the 0-4 Red Sox over the Yankees. The road team has won each of the first 4 games of the ALCS. In case you're wondering, there have been just 4 best of 5 or best of 7 postseason series in which the road team won every game. The most famous one that I can remember is 2019 World Series, Nationals over Astros. That was a banana series where the road team won every game. Nationals winning games 6 and 7 on the road in Houston to take that title. That was shocking. Also, 2023 ALCS is a recent one as well, which was also very surprising, where the Rangers did it to the Astros on the way to the title. Dating back to Game 3 of the 2022 ALCS, the road team has now won 15 of the last 18 games in ALCS play. Teams to out-homer the opposition this postseason are 21-4. Shohei is now batting .207, 4 home runs, 12 RBIs, and an .831 in 15 games in which he was the starting pitcher this season, including the NLDS Game 1 at Philly. So he's about to start Game 4. That's, some of the fun of today is we get to see Shohei on the mound. So he's in the unique position where if he's not contributing as much as he'd like to with the bat, he has another way he can help out, right? He can pitch. Pretty cool trick there. Brewers, 18 hits dating back to Game 4 of the NLDS were the fewest in a 5-game span in team history, regular season and playoffs. They faced nothing but tough pitching, tough circumstances. You couldn't see anything yesterday in that Dodger game, and they're facing glass now, so I don't know. It just shows you how tough it's been. The combination of elite competition, but also elitely difficult circumstances. Blue Jays and Mariners have been tied at the end of just 4 innings through the first 4 games. All right, here are today's matchups. Ooh, the early game is Blue Jays Mariners today, 6:08 Eastern, so 3:08 in Seattle. Gausman and Bryce Miller. I mentioned Brian Wu is on the table. Munoz is certainly on the table. He hasn't pitched much at all. I feel like this should be a really fun one. And they have the early game, which is interesting. I thought it was going to be Brewers-Dodgers in a way. I like that for the Brewers, that they don't have to face Ohtani in the shadows as much at Dodger Stadium tonight, as that game will be at 8:38 Eastern. All right, what's in this packet today? We talk about Shohei the pitcher. We're going to talk about Bryce Miller. We'll wonder if we see Brian Wu, Prime 9 Ohtani moments, whatever. Pat Murphy only has 1 move left. 20th anniversary of Albert Pujols' home run against Brad Lidge. All right, Blue Jays at Mariners. When a best-of-7 series is tied at 2 apiece, the winner of Game 5 goes on to win the series 68.2% of the time. That excludes the 2020 postseason. The Blue Jays are batting .301 this playoffs. That is the highest average by a team in the postseason. Minimum 8 games since the 07 Red Sox hit .313 in their 14 playoff games. The other 11 playoff teams are batting .218. So the Blue Jays offense is by far the best, contact-wise, at least for average. And we've seen it. They have shorter swings. They like to hit velocity. They put the ball in play. They have very few strikeouts. It's not rocket science. It's pretty good baseball. It hasn't worked every game, but it's worked a lot, right? They've had some really nice offensive performances so far. One thing to note, the Jays haven't had a save opportunity, so not sure how Hoffman... it's interesting to be at this point in the playoffs and to not have had really any nail-biters in the 9th inning on the mound yet. Man, what a dream for a late inning relief pitcher in a way. Like you haven't had to have any of those gut check moments yet. All right, after going hitless in the 7 at-bats in Toronto, Vlad is 6 for 9 with 2 doubles, 2 homers, and 4 runs scored over the last 2 days in Seattle. He leads MLB with 5 homers and 11 RBIs this postseason. He's been on an absolute tear. Him and Ernie Clement. Ernie Clement's also batting .452, and he has 30 plate appearances. So those two guys have accounted for a lot of that 300 team batting average on the Blue Jays. Those guys have carried them. From April 1st through Game 2 of the ALCS, Andres Gimenez hit 4 home runs at 332 at-bats in 102 games, but he's homered in consecutive games for the first time since 2022. He's 5 for 8 with 2 homers and 6 RBIs over the past 2 days, and he bats 9th on this team. That is a big deal. Big deal. Big deal because he flips the lineup over. And honestly, his defense is so good too that he kind of makes up for not having Bo out there. I think it's huge how he stepped up in this. This was a great trade by the Blue Jays in the offseason. You get a tremendous defender and a guy who can, hit some of the better pitchers in big moments. This is a pitching rematch from Game 1. At the time, Bryce Miller was on 3 days rest, and he allowed 1 run on the leadoff home run by Springer in 6 innings. This was a very aggressive offensive approach by both teams that kind of backfired on the Blue Jays. Miller was able to get quick outs the whole time and kind of make it work, whereas Gausman entered pitching really, really well but got in trouble, and Schneider made the quick hook. Brendan Little gave up the go-ahead RBI, and the Mariners were able to seize Game 1. Raleigh is 8 for 17 with 4 homers career versus Gausman, including this year's playoffs. So he hasn't swung it very well this series, but he does have a good matchup historically today versus Gausman. So we'll see how Cal can influence this game offensively. The Mariners will need to find innings from Miller and potentially Brian Wu out of the bullpen on Friday. George Kirby and Luis Castillo combined to allow 11 runs in only 6 1/3 combined innings. So this is what we were talking about a little bit earlier. Who is going to pitch today for the Mariners? How are they going to get to the line? So Miller, Brian Wu, Spire threw 32 pitches the other day. Vargas has thrown 64 pitches in his 3 appearances over the last 4 days. So those 2 guys are kind of not going to be able to contribute as much. Wu did warm up in the 3rd inning Thursday, but has not pitched since September 19th with pectoral inflammation. He's got that sore chest. And the last time he pitched out the bullpen, which was when he was in college in 2021 at Cal Poly. I believe they're the Broncos. I don't know. Wu was Seattle's best pitcher in the regular season, though, so it'd be great to have him back. They've certainly had enough depth to cover without him. But yeah, he's going to have to pitch. After starting the postseason with 13 consecutive hitless at-bats, Josh Naylor has 12 hits in his last 24 at-bats with 2 homers, but his base running gaff Thursday, getting thrown out at 3rd to end the 7th, prevented the tying run from coming to the plate. Yeah, so this was the end of the 7th inning. Who was pitching at this moment? Let's see that. 5-1 game, 2 outs. Suarez inside outs it to right. Barger comes up. The run's going to score. But Naylor goes to 3rd on a play where obviously he wasn't going to make it. So credit to Barger for making this play and making it happen. I know Josh plays a very aggressive style. But yeah, the tying run comes to the plate here if you just stay at 2nd. Also, it looks like there's a slight hesitation. And he's out by a lot. Yeah, I don't know. Do I detect a slight hesitation here? Let's see. That's Naylor. Let's watch him. Yeah, it looks like he slows down and gets a little choppy right around this part of the base path. Yeah, not a great play. He has been on base all day, so obviously he's going to be in the lineup and you'll live with it. But yeah, that did turn out to be a big play. Would have got the tying run up there, so that's definitely something. Never make a 3rd out at 3rd. Never make the 3rd out at 3rd. Can't do it. Including the past 2 games, the Blue Jays have won all 5 of their games at T-Mobile Park this season, mashing 11 homers and scoring 42 runs, which is crazy because this is considered not a good ballpark to hit in. But I do feel like the Blue Jays have always had a sneaky presence in Seattle. Obviously, they're pretty close to British Columbia. A lot of Canadian fans. This is their opportunity. More Western Canadian fans. This is their opportunity to see their team play. They head down to Seattle. They make themselves at home. I think it's very amicable during the regular season. Maybe not so much right now. But the Blue Jays as a club, they felt very, very good out there. Addison Barger, the Bellevue, Washington native, is batting .381 with 4 doubles, 2 homers, and 6 RBIs in Seattle this year. So he's feeling good with that home cooking. Maybe sleeping. No, I don't think he lives there, but, that home cooking, feeling good. Prior to Game 4, the Blue Jays added Joey Loperfido to the LCS roster, replacing Santander, who's got spine inflammation. That doesn't sound great. Bichette still doesn't appear to be comfortable running the bases from his PCL sprain. So Loperfido, does he get in the game today? That's a good question. And Randy Arozarena this postseason, 157, 273, 263, only 6 hits and 1 home run and 16 strikeouts in the leadoff spot. That's been a big factor in the M's not really doing much, I would say, the last 2 days. We got a little question here about Loperfido, right? Is Loperfido gonna play? I mean, maybe he gets in there today versus Bryce Miller. Another lefty in there. Maybe he can do it. He's a pretty good hitter at times, Loperfido. Why don't teams put a really good batter in the ninth spot? Part of the reason is because over the course of time, the guy in the ninth spot will get less at bats, less chances than if he's further up in the order. Obviously, the closer you are to the front of the line, the more at bats you'll get over time. And the idea is, why wouldn't you want your best hitters getting up there, getting as many plate appearances as possible? But I do love having good on base guys down there towards the end of the lineup because they can end up kind of setting the table really nice for the top of the order, which are your best players. So I like that dynamic. Obviously, those years in the National League, sometimes it was really hard to get that to happen where you had the rally-killing pitcher in there to kind of screw things up. But in the American League, no reason why you can't, maybe hedge a little bit more of an on-base guy towards the end if it makes sense to me, if it makes sense to you. Yeah, and I would say the modern trend is more put your worst hitters up 7th or 8th. This is sort of that same idea, but that's the reason why a lot of people wouldn't do it. Because you want to, over time, you want to have your best hitters with more plate appearances. So that makes sense. Okay. So there was some other stuff about the series before we get into Brewers Dodgers, some breakdowns here. Let's see here. That's Shohei pitching. We'll get to him. All right, Bryce Miller, the forgotten Seattle hurler who started Game 1 and kind of set up the Mariners for success in this series when he won Game 1. He had a breakout campaign in 2024. He had a 2.94 and 180 innings last year, so let's not forget that. That's tremendous. 592 opponent OPS. Really, really good. This year, he was hurt a lot, so his ERA kind of stunk. He wasn't as good when he pitched. He had a 5.68, but there's a lot of ability in there for sure. He's allowed, let's see here. Yeah, 6 innings of 1-run ball. He also pitched in Detroit. He went 4 1/3, 4 runs on 2 strikeouts, no walks. He didn't get a ton of leash in that game versus Detroit, but he really stepped up big time at Seattle. Through his first 2 postseason starts, Miller's velocity has been up a few ticks across the board. He posted his highest average velocity ever, 96.2 in Game 1 versus Toronto. So that's a good time. Good time to do it. Get the velo back at the right time. I like it a lot. Bryce Miller, average pitch velocity, 2025 regular season versus postseason. So this year he was averaging 94.8 in the regular season on the 4, 96.2 in the postseason so far. So that's a pretty good trick. When he first came up, he was known for mainly being 4-seamers. If we go look at his pitcher breakdown, I wonder if they'll have it on here as we go. He was all 4-seamers at the top of the zone all the time when he first came up. Then over time, he kind of switched to a 2-fastball approach that quite literally transformed his season in 2024 into one of the best 4-seamers and sinkers. Now, we've seen the Mariners, all their starters have done this now. Kirby's doing this. Castillo's been doing this. Miller's on this trend as well. Wu does this. Gilbert, not as much, but he does it a little bit. But for the most part, those other 4 guys have all kind of, by osmosis, kind of, generated this approach together where they're going to have righty 4-seamers and sinkers. Miller's 4-seam, I feel like, is the best of the bunch besides Wu, just from a natural standpoint. 18.3 induced vertical break in 24, 18.6 right now in the postseason. So that's a really good fastball. Lowest opponent average on 4-seamers 2024 season. This is a comparison of his contemporaries in 2024. Bowden Francis was up there, Aaron Nola, Garrett Cole, Hunter Green, and Bryce Miller. So he's got a lot of noted success on 4-seamers elevated, but we've also talked about how Toronto's one of the better teams to hit elevated 4-seams. This has now come into play each of the last 2 games, with Kirby throwing a lot of high 4-seamers as well as Castillo throwing a lot of high 4-seamers. And I'm starting to think, even though they have such good pitching, there's a lot of similarities, eerie similarities in styles between Bryce Miller, George Kirby, Luis Castillo, even Brian Wu to some extent. And the more you face it, you might be able to get a jump on the strategy because you see how they like to call it. So you're almost scouting Cal Raleigh and his pitch calling methods more so than the pitchers at this point, since they all have similar game plans. And then they seem to be leaning into certain game plans versus certain hitters over and over and over again. We saw how they're going a lot of sinker into Vlad, sinker into Vlad, slider away, then sinker into Vlad. So exactly, like every guy right now, the plan is starting to become apparent, and it's up to them to maybe adjust off of that, and we'll see if Miller does that today to stay a step ahead or if he walks right into it. In game one, he threw again, yeah. See, so sinkers versus righties was the desirable pitch. He was 36% sinker versus righties in that game one, and the four seam was down at 15.4%. So that's probably a lot of what they're trying to do. That sinker in versus right on right approach and slider away. That seems like that's what they've game planned for. We'll see if that switches up, and then versus the lefties, more elevated fastballs. So the key there is execution. If you don't get it up high enough, guys like Lucas can hit it, guys like Varsho can hit it. But if you get it at the top, it can work. So execution's key there. And then pumping the splitter. Speaking of Miller's splitter, he's also seen the devastating pitch from last year's return. The velo, inches of drop, and whiff rates are similar to 24. It's only a 125 opponent average, 1 for 8 off the postseason, and he had the 5th lowest batting average on splitters in 2024 as well. So really, we're no longer comparing Bryce Miller versus his 2025 season, which was subpar. We're looking at him off of his 2024 season because now he's kind of gotten his himself back to form, and he looks a lot more like that guy last year who was an elite starter. Lowest opponent average on splitters, 2024, and then 2025 playoffs. These are some of the better splitter guys in the game. Mark Leiter Jr., Logan Gilbert, Fernando Cruz, Dean Kramer, Kevin Gausman. So he's in good company with that as well. The Mariners don't need a ton of length from Miller on Friday. Andres Munoz hasn't pitched since Sunday, and Matt Brash only threw 10 pitches on Thursday. So I think the Mariners do need length from him because we don't know what we're getting from Wu. I don't agree with this at all, but Wu is going to be a big deal, and then Munoz is definitely going to pitch, although it looked to me like Munoz looked tired the last time we saw him. His velo was down. He's been going like 85% sliders. So I think the Mariners are very vulnerable in this game, despite the fact that Miller pitched well last game. I think the Blue Jays have been the first team to make the adjustments, and now it's up to the Mariners pitching staff to make the adjustments back and get back on top of Toronto. That's what I'm looking for today. Will they make the adjustments, basically? Expect the Mariners to have Wu pitching Game 5 on the same day that Miller starts. Castillo and Wu present the same look to hitters, pounding 2 types of fastballs up in the zone from a low arm slot. Miller also throws fastballs he's from the higher slot. So here's the arm slots. Castillo's the lowest down at 15. Wu is a little bit higher at 25, still gets that upshoot. Miller's a lot higher at 44. So even though they have the same styles, at least they'll be coming about it from 2 different arm slots if Wu comes in behind Miller. So that'll be interesting to see if that makes any impact on the game at all. All right, and then there's a little bit of talk. I guess that's it for this game. Now, so we know what the Mariners are going to throw at him. From the Blue Jays side of things, is it Gausman? Yeah, right? Yeah, Gausman. So Gausman in the first game, how did he look? I'm trying to remember. He looked really good and then got the early hook. Thinking conceptually about Blue Jays Mariners tonight. Gausman versus Miller. Looking at the Mariner lineup facing Gausman. Julio had that home run off of the Savage split. Polanco was the big difficulty a little bit in that game. Raleigh still looks a little bit lost at the plate. Toronto has the luxury of having more relievers rested. We haven't really talked a lot about how Gausman looks heading into this game, but I feel like it'll be interesting to see what the hook looks like on him, whether he mixes in more sliders. These are probably the real questions. Yeah, Gausman was dominating until the home run to Cal. That was on that split. So that's the one matchup that you have to watch out for. Historically, Cal's kind of raked Gausman. I think he's got 4 home runs that we were just saying. I'd be curious to see if he throws in more fastballs. You know, he definitely went down and got that split the last time. I'm going to watch that for a sec, maybe. Toronto and Seattle. It was game 1. Gosman. Yeah, here's the 6th inning. This is how the 6th inning ended up going. When they finally they chase Gauze from the game. He came back from a 3-0 count to get Crawford out. But you could tell that Schneider didn't love the fact that he dropped behind 3-0 in that at-bat. Then he ends up striking out Randy on a really nice split. Randy's been scuffling bad. So he got the 2 outs, nobody on in that inning with the typical approach. And then here's the Cal Raleigh home run. And I think it's just too many splitters. It looks like Raleigh at some point just commits to the split. Pulled split in, ball, fastball down, ball, gets himself in a bad spot, then goes triple splits here. Like the fact that he got to this splitter and even hit it at all, even though it's too low to do anything with, tells me that he's on the split. They didn't read that very well, and they try to go it again, and this one's a lot more hittable. But you give credit to Raleigh. Gosman doesn't get clipped on pitches in that location too often, even though you can see why it happened based on the previous pitch. So yeah, maybe, you know, what's the antidote for a guy diving and getting in this position to hit off of you? I mean, obviously the antidote is to throw fastballs up and in here, you know, and then maybe you try occasionally to throw a slider that starts here and drops into the inside if you want to whiff before going back away with splits. But if a guy's going to dive off of you, you got to stand him up with fastballs in at some point. Be curious to see if he does that. That'll be interesting to see. But I would say, yeah, I mean, getting around that ball and crushing it is still absurd. Great swing by Cal Raleigh. It's why he had 60 freaking home runs this season. He's awesome. Love you too. And as a Jays fan, most at ease when Gosman's pitching. So that's who you want then. You just have all the momentum back. You've won 2 in a row. You're cruising into game 5. You got your guy on the mound, and you're in a good spot. All right. On to Dodgers Brewers. It is a 3-0 situation. Dodgers with the lead. Their pitching has been basically unhittable. Shohei is back on the mound today. He makes his first career postseason home start with a chance to send the Dodgers to their 2nd straight World Series, the 2nd since he's been a part of their team. That signing has worked out quite well. They are also the first team to actually make it back to the World Series in consecutive years since 2009 Phillies. The Phillies did lose in that World Series to the Yankees, but they were there back-to-back years representing the National League. No team has done that since then. Dodgers looking to do that. They need 1 win in the next 4 games to make that a reality. Ohtani won his postseason pitching debut 13 days ago in Game 1 of the NLDS in Philly, allowing 3 runs across 6 innings in the 5-3 victory. I'm going to put a little poll in my chat about who's going to win Game 5 tonight real quick while we're here. ALCS Game 5 winner. Jays, Mariners. Who you guys got? Let's see. Yesterday, our poll that we had in Baseball and Coffee was huge on the Jays. So they did not jinx them. Our chat did not jinx them. So vote with your heart and go from there. All right, Ohtani won his postseason pitching debut 13 days ago in the Game 1 against Philly. He did allow those 3 runs early, but pitched really freaking well in that game. 9 strikeouts, was filthy. He's got a 1.40 ERA with 36 Ks, 5 walks in his last 5 starts overall. So he's trending really well. The stuff's been really good. We've seen that. He also tripled and scored a run yesterday on kind of an awkward swing. I don't think he looks great at the plate at all, but it doesn't matter because if he pitches well today, they'll take it and they'll cruise into the World Series. He'll have plenty of time to get his swing straightened out and get ready for who he's going to be facing. LA starting pitchers are 6-1, 1.54. That's 10 runs in the last 58 1/3 in their 9 games this postseason. So the starters have completely carried them. Whereas other teams are doing it more bullpen. That was kind of the rub in this series. Brewers bullpen and kind of, they're mixing and matching versus the Dodgers just straight running it out there with their starters. And the Dodgers starters have proven way mightier at this point. Snell, Yamamoto, Glasnow, tonight, Ohtani. So pretty damn good. I do think you might see Kershaw in this game if the score gets one way or the other. Keep him sharp. Maybe Sheehan gets in this game a little bit. Keep him sharp. But if they're way ahead in this game, they might even close it out with a Sasaki or Trinan. Try to keep them going as well, because they're going to have a little bit of a layoff if they win this game. It's 1 week till the first game of the World Series. That can hurt teams. And they've been playing a lot of baseball recently. Remember, they came out of the wild card round this year. So we'll see. These are all questions, but we don't know how this game's going to go. 97.6% of the time, the 3-0 team wins. That's why we're talking in such absolutes with the Dodgers. But you do never know. There's a puncher's chance. The Dodgers have won 19 of 25 postseason games over the last 2 years. That's elite versus the best competition. They look to become the third team in history to allow 0 or 1 run in the first 4 games of a postseason series. Brewers just can't get anything going. They've lost 10 straight postseason games on the road. They are 9 for 89, 101 with 3 total runs and 30 punchouts in the NLCS. They're hitting 101 as a team. 101 as a team. That is tough. Quintana and or Chad Patrick are likely the bulk inning options on Friday. Aaron Ashby, who has pitched in all 3 games, allowed a run while recording just 1 out as the opener in Game 3 loss after throwing a scoreless first in Game 1. Mizorowski pitched 5 innings in this game, so he's toast. Abner Uribe pitched quite a bit, so he might be available, but not much. Quintana did pitch well the last time he pitched. He held the Cubs scoreless over 3 innings of relief in Game 3 at Wrigley in his only appearance since injuring his calf on September 14th. You know what you're getting with Jose? You're getting really good execution. You're getting really good compete. You're not getting great stuff. So there's a little bit of vulnerability there if he's not sharp, which definitely makes me think that could be the case given that he hasn't pitched much. However, this guy's very, very focused out there and pitched well in that Cubs game, so anything's possible. But they're in a dire situation if their bulk guys for this game are Patrick and Quintana, as we know. Starting pitcher statistics for the Brewers in the NLCS aren't great on the other side. 7 innings pitched, 4 earned runs, 5.14 ERA. And if we include the bulk inning pitchers, the numbers are a little better. Priester and The Miz pitched well, 4 earned runs and 14 2/3, along with Freddie Peralta. Not bad. Chourio hopeful to play on Friday after leaving the game. But man, he's had this hamstring. He's like hurt, not hurt, cramping, not cramping. But he has had the best swings, I would say, of the series so far for the Brew Crew. So they're going to need Chourio out there if they have any hope of scoring runs. And also the defense. Max Muncy's had some really impressive defense in this postseason. He had the little spin play, throw to home last night, as well as that wheel play in the previous series. So Max Muncy impressing a lot on defense. Mookie's looked incredible at short as well. He had the jump throw in the 9th inning yesterday. Let's go to that. This play right here by Mookie was smooth. Very smooth. Little jump throw, perfect bounce to Freddie. Putting the finishing touches on this game. That was nice. There was the Muncy play as well. Where's that Muncy play? Where is that Muncy play? Muncy play. It's over here somewhere. Here it is. This was a very nice Muncy play. Little spin, little DJ LeMahieu leg spin, perfect throw to the plate. I mean, dude, nasty. Here, catch and spin on that knee into a perfect pop-up and plant. He doesn't get a lot of credit for his defense, but he's been amazing this postseason. So Dodgers can't do anything wrong. They're excelling in all phases. Pitching, hitting, defense, base running. All good things. All very, very good things for the Dodgers. All right, let's talk a little Shohei on the mound. He obviously had Tommy John last year, comes back. They brought him along slowly. They threw him a lot of 3-inning outings, 4-inning outings, 5-inning outings. They eventually got him ready all the way to the end of the year. And listen, he's been quite good. This is his company in terms of FIP leaders since 2021. Shohei, Skeens, Skubal, Sanchez, Logan Webb, Chris Sale. So literally, he's up there at the very top. He doesn't have the innings as those guys, but while he's been out there, he's been really, really good. He's got off to a historic start if you're looking at him just as a pitcher. 5th lowest opponent average and 2nd best K-9 among pitchers in their first 100 career starts. Crazy numbers right there. Leaders through 100 career starts. Pitchers to debut since 1900. Opponent average. He looks like he is 5th behind Herb Score, Nolan Ryan, Freddie Peralta, Ed Rollback, and then Shohei, and then Ks per 9. Glass now slightly ahead of him, his teammate. Shohei, Freddie Peralta, Yu Darvish, Corbin Burns. Those are all modern pitchers because that's sort of a modern situation to have that many strikeouts per 9. Ohtani's stuff looks as good as ever among starters in 2025. Ohtani's stuff plus is 2nd best in MLB. Remember, stuff plus looks at a physical combination of a pitcher's repertoire for release point, velocity, movement, spin rate, etc. Everybody has different metrics, but odds are if he's rating high on the stuff plus leaderboard that we have here, he's high on all of them because that means he's got elite velocity, movement, everything like that. Herb Score also definitely a solid baseball name. Very solid. Tremendous baseball name. Stuff plus leaders. Hunter Green is ahead of him. He's tied with Mizorowski, which we saw what type of stuff he was featuring yesterday. Yuri Perez, Garrett Crochet, Tarek Skubal. That passes the test. We all know those guys are pretty much filthy. So it's nice when it matches up. Eye test and number test. Average four-seam velocity. He comes in, it looks at number 3 maybe in the game behind Hunter Green, Mizorowski, then Ohtani. Pretty good, pretty good. Four-seam fastball metrics. His fastball's gotten better over time, mostly because it has more ride than it used to. Driven by spin rate. So I wonder what he's done to train his spin better. His grip strength, maybe some stuff in his pinch grip strength. He's currently at 2467 RPM. That's a big jump over previous. Very big. In a couple years ago, I would say suspiciously big. But either way, he's figured out a way, and it's made his ball drop less on the way to the plate. 13.7 inches of drop, whereas before his injury, he was right around 14.5, 15 inches of drop. That's a big difference. Stuff Plus reflects that. 113, 13% better fastball than league average. We'll take it and we'll rock with it. He's also throwing from the windup in 2025, something he hasn't done in the States in a long time. If you watch him now, there's a lot of rhythm in his windup as he gets going, whereas he pretty much pitched out of the stretch when he was an Angel. This was the first pitch of the game in August 2023 on that picture on the left. For me, yes. If Ohtani retires today, he's the Hall of Fame. I mean, for me, yes. I mean, he's a one of one. He's also really evolved as a pitcher from when we first saw him. He was really a 4-pitch pitcher in 2018 using a 4-seam split, slider, and curveball, but now he's got 7 different pitches and he's touched up to 102. So he's added, you can see here on the movement profiles, all the extra dots that have been added. A sweeper came in at some point. A curveball came in. A cutter came in, and he's moved the movement on his pitches around a little bit. You know, this is what people do now. They make adjustments very, very fast. Even when they're injured, they're scheming on how they can be better when they come back. That's what Shohei has done. His best pitch when he broke in was the splitter. This is his career splitter stats. 33 for 332 off the split with 3 homers. That's a 0.99 career average off his splitter and a 151 career slug with a 50% whiff rate. Pretty freaking good pitch. However, he moved away from it. I'm wondering if it has something to do with the elbow. Oftentimes, you spread those fingers a lot. You grip the ball really hard. You're kind of locked in. You kind of overcook some of your forearm muscles a little bit early. And if you're not trained right for it, you know, maybe you move away from it for a little bit until you feel comfortable again. That's what he's done, although he has brought it back a little bit. He brought it back in the NLDS versus the Phillies and got 2 strikeouts with the split. So he'll still throw it when need be, but he's no longer leaning on it as much. This is the other reason. I talked about this a little bit yesterday on this show. When you are throwing a split, it's a little easier if you have a little bit higher arm angle. You come right down through the ball. Straight down through. It's a little easier to get your fingers to evacuate the ball at the same time when you're coming right down to it or impart the spin. consistently, but when you're coming from a little bit of a lower slot, and you're coming around here a little bit, it's just tricky. It's just trickier to cut it perfectly without bringing the ball with you and cutting it and messing up your location and stuff. You know, so I think it's a little easier with a higher arm angle to throw a great split. Some people do it with lower arm slots, but it's tricky and it's a very big feel thing. And then Gosman, look, it doesn't mean you're going to get hurt throwing a split because I talked about how it activates. It just means you have to train your arm for it. It's not inherently more dangerous than other pitches. It's just that you're in a different spot with your arm than you are in with other pitches. So if you don't train it accordingly, like build it up under, you know, sub-maximal stress levels and eventually prep your tissues to handle what you're going to be asking of it, then yeah, something's probably going to break. It's the same with any pitch. So I don't think a splitter is more inherently dangerous than other pitches. It's just one of those pitches that if you don't train your arm and your body for it correctly, you can get hurt. And that's what I think a lot of people got scared of over the years. But now we're starting to learn how to train these things better. So you're going to see more and more splits as we go. And I don't think you'll see as many injuries blamed on it as we go as well. Also, Gosman has an interesting grip as well. It's a little different, where he kind of like paddles all three of these fingers on the side. And then when the ball comes out, he kind of like pulls them off this finger to create that spin. So it's a little different. All right, Ohtani splitter metrics. He's currently throwing it harder than before by about 2 miles an hour, yet it's still dropping about the same, and it also has more movement on it. So even though it's a different pitch because of the arm angle, it's still quite effective when he throws it in small doses. But his array of breaking pitches are some of the best in the game. He's got 3 different ones. He's got like a tight one, a little gyro. He's got a huge sweeper, and he's got a curveball. So that's what I try to go. That's the way I try to go about it as I progressed in my career. Was like, okay, I'm going to throw breaking balls, but let's make them as diversified as possible. Give me something hard and small. Give me something up, down. Give me something right, left. Give me something in between. I want speed differential. I want movement differential. He's kind of generated that. Highest whiff percentage on breaking pitches in the 2025 season among starting pitchers. He's on the list with Spencer Strider, Blake Snell, Hunter Green, Zach Wheeler, Edward Cabrera. So very, very good company there. He did fall in love with that sweeper for a while in 2022, 2023. It became his number 1 pitch for a while. He's backed away from that a little bit, which I think is smart. That's another pitch that if you just abuse it without knowing what you're doing and without preparing your arm for it, that can also lead to some issues. So he's just learned from everything he's been through. He tends to become very good at skills very fast, and I feel like in a way that's sort of led to some injury troubles from him because it's almost like too much too soon when he would need a little bit of a longer buildup. He just hasn't had time to do that because he's so good at acquiring new skills so fast. This is a quick look at his last 5 starts, including the postseason. 25 2/3, 1 homer, 36 Ks, 5 walks. So the Brewers are getting yet another ace level pitcher, here in game 4. You get 3 of them in the first 3 games, and you get a 4th one in this one. So it's pretty crazy. Pretty crazy situation for the Brewers. If they dig out of this, it would be historic. Certainly it would be historic. Wow, 85% Jays in the poll right now on my channel. 46 votes. Only 15% for the Mariners. We are feeling the Jays big time in the chat. I know I have a lot of Canadians in here, but yeah. Okay, that's about spending. It's irrelevant right now. Okay. Don't care about this. This is the other thing. Curveballs become a new pitch for Shohei too. So I mentioned the multiple different breaking balls. There's so much to study when it comes to Shohei. He's got the huge sweeper. Now he's got the gyro slider. The velocity is incredible. The arm angle's changed. He's bringing back the split at times. He throws 2 types of fastballs. Now he's pitching out of the windup where he used to pitch out of the stretch. All these things. But now on top of that, he's got a really good curveball as well. Highest whip percentage on a pitch this year, curveballs. Shohei, Eric Miller, Geraldo, Perez. So he's up there. He's up there. Almost all of his pitches are up there in terms of like ranking really high in whiff or opponent OPS or velocity or movement. Every one of them ranks highly in some category. So it's just crazy the arsenal that he has. And yes, he still hits, which is also kind of incredible. What else do we have in here? I looked at this already. Shohei Ohtani moments. This was a little bit of a talk yesterday. Where they did a lot of they did a lot of trickery yesterday pregame, trying to convince the Dodgers who they were going to pitch in this game, and they kept trying to hedge like it was going to be Quintana. They ended up going Mizorowski. They tried to do an opener. The opener situation hasn't worked out great. I don't love burning Ashby at the very touch of the game. Might as well let Mizorowski right at him. I think I would have just started him yesterday personally, but they didn't fool Dave at all. Pat admitted Mizorowski would be the bulk starter at 408. The gambit didn't work. The lineup was already set. If they had just started Mizorowski, he would have created a better lane for Ashby later in the game. Ohtani would have hit first, and Freeman would have hit third. That's a better lane for Ashby, and Koenig all your lefties in the bullpen. So instead, what they did was they kind of switched it around, and they anticipated what the Brewers were going to do, and Pat Murphy didn't fix anything. I think it would have just let Mizorowski go right at him. He's your best pitcher at the moment. Just in terms of stuff, he's the new animal. He's the unicorn, you know. Just let him at him. What's this text? Oh wow. Working on oh, there's a thing here about Canadian shipping on my YouTube store. I'm gonna have to look into that. I'm sorry about that. Sorry about that, Alex. I will look into that. Also, Shohei was 3 for 3 off Ashby, so I didn't love that at all. I think I would have just rode Mizorowski. He looked really good in this game, but they needed to play out front in this game. They weren't really able to do it. They ended up eventually, losing out there a little bit, and they just weren't able to hit. So I didn't like it, but at the end of the day, if you don't score, you can't win. So, you can critique all you want here, but it just seems like things are kind of inevitable. The Dodgers are feeling a bit inevitable right now with their pitching. Like, you're just not scoring off of them. I'm pretty sure Shohei is going to look really tough to hit today too. 20th anniversary of Albert Pujols' epic home run off Brad Lidge. I mean, yeah, I'll never forget being in not my dorm room, but somebody else's dorm room in college. So this would have been 20 years ago, huh? 2005, yeah. And watching Albert hit this home run off of Brad Lidge that they're talking about, and just being kind of stunned. You know, Brad Lidge had a crazy year that year with like 90 innings or something, 130 punch outs out of the pen. And at that time, Albert was basically the Aaron Judge of our time, Aaron Judge of that time. And, he put the team on his back. 9th inning, huge home run. So here are the 5 memorable playoff moments by a player whose team lost the series. The bat flip, the Jose Bautista bat flip. No, this was the Tom Lawless bat flip. Everybody remembers this, maybe. A weird, awkward white guy on the Cardinals tossing his bat. They lost it. Frank Viola and the Twins get the last laugh. Endy's catch. This was a sad one for Mets fans. Game 7, 2006 NLDS. Endy Chavez steals Scott Rowland's drive to left. They end up getting a double play. There's a famous fist pump by Carlos Delgado. Mets end up losing anyway later. Yadier Molina off of Aaron Heilman. Adam Wainwright curveball to Carlos Beltran. Albert Pujols quiets Houston. This was the number 2. Obviously, we were just talking about off of Brad Lidge. He had been untouchable that year. 45 of 49 saves. Pretty incredible. And then Rajai Davis, the home run off Chapman. Game 7 of the 2016 World Series. Man, that was insane. He kind of shortened up, clipped that home run. It's amazing that the Cubs came back after that. And then the number 1 is the Carlton Fisk waving the home run fair. Game 6, 1975 Fall Classic. He waves it fair. But after that, Boston does not hold on in Game 7, and they lose the series. So anyway, that's a little history for you. 2 good games coming our way tonight. The first one today is that Toronto-Seattle game. That's the more exciting game, Game 5. And then the night game, 8:30 Eastern, Brewers. Dodgers going for the sweep. Which 40-year-old plus performance did you like more last night? Scherzer or Joe Flacco? Well, considering that I don't watch football, it's most certainly Max Scherzer. But Credit to Joe Flacco. I love anybody that's old and getting it done. That's great. But yeah, I didn't watch this game. I don't even know what team Joe Flacco quarterback's for anymore. So anyway, ooh, the wife is hungry. Let's get lunch. Good idea. All right, that's going to be it then today for baseball and coffee. Thanks for hanging. We checked both games. Big takeaways real quick before I hop off here. First game, which is the game 5, the big one. Do the Mariners continue with their same strategies that they've been trying to use on these hitters with the Blue Jays over and over again? Will Bryce Miller be pounding sinkers into Vlad the whole time? Will he be anticipating that? That's a big question. Will the fastballs at the top of the zone play? Because they really haven't been playing as well lately to a lot of these Jays guys. Clement, Varsho, Springer. So the aggression of the Jays versus Bryce Miller round 2. Will there be any adjustments there? That's my takeaway on that side. The other side, Gausman, particularly Gausman versus Raleigh. Will he continue to try to go to the split? Raleigh has owned him a little bit. Will he keep him honest up top? Will somebody else step up on the Mariner offense and kind of get them out of their doldrums? Well, can they only do it with home runs? Can they mount a rally? Who else is going to pitch in this game for both sides? Will the Blue Jays have a quick hook on Gausman? Will they go to the bullpen? Will Bassett poke his head out and participate today? On the other side, who's going to pitch behind Miller? Will we see Bryce Wu in this? Will we see Wu in this game? Will we see Munoz in this game? What will he look like? Will he be throwing all sliders? Is his velocity still down? A lot of questions. This is going to be an all hands on deck game 5 and a very exciting game 5. I'm picking Toronto. I feel like they have more momentum, so we'll see how that plays out. Obviously, it's baseball. Anything can happen in the other game. Obviously, I think the Dodgers are going to finish out the sweep today. The question will be, can the Brewers get on the board versus Shohei at all? Can they show any life offensively? And for the Dodgers, I guess the question is, how's Shohei look? Do their at-bats continue to look good? Do they stay locked in up 3-0? Do they want the sweep today? Do they lay down a little bit today? I don't know. There's a lot of questions, but it should be good baseball. So thanks for hanging with me this afternoon. I guess it's late morning. And I will not be on Baseball After Dark tonight, but I will be on Baseball After Dark tomorrow on Saturday, regardless if there's games or no games. Tomorrow, I will be on tomorrow, and we'll do it then. So, peace out. Thanks so much for hanging with me today, and I'll see you guys next time. I'll put up an upcoming on my site, on my channel pretty soon, so we'll figure out exactly when that is, but I'll see you guys. Thanks so much. Peace out, guys.